Russian Federation's war crimes against Ukrainian children, military violence. As of May 25, 2026, the full-scale war in Ukraine has claimed the lives of 705 children, with another 2,527 injured. These official figures are provided by the government portal, Children of War. No child in Ukraine is completely safe. Children are suffering from intense fighting near the front line and in more remote areas from attacks on energy and civilian infrastructure and indiscriminate shelling. The risk of using children as hostages during military operations. In September 2025, the Speaker of the 3rd Army Corps of the Armed Forces of Ukraine reported that the Russian military in a village in the Donetsk region held an orphan girl. Her parents, according to the Ukrainian military, were killed. Russians used her as a human shield, blackmailing the Ukrainian military with the fact that she could be in any house. Sexualized violence and exploitation of children in the occupied territories. There are documented cases of sexualized violence against children and their exploitation by the Russian military. Thus, in September 2025, it became known about the rape and sexual exploitation of teenage girls by Russian military personnel in the villages of the Zaporizhia region, which are under the temporary control of the Russian army. Criminal prosecution of teenagers accused of resisting the occupation authorities. Ukrainian teenagers accused of preparing and carrying out sabotage find themselves in terrible conditions in Russian pre-trial detention centers, where they are subjected to torture and inhuman treatment. The Office of the Prosecutor General of Ukraine reports at least 12 cases of detention of minors in Donetsk, Zaporizhia, Kharkiv, and Kherson regions. 2 teenagers accused of committing a terrorist act were killed in occupied Berdyansk. Removal of children from Ukraine to the Russian Federation and Belarus without the consent of their legal guardians. Placement to institutions and foster families for a long time. There are documented cases of complete legal adoption of Ukrainian children abducted by the military and taken to the Russian Federation, and the change of their personal data, name, date, and place of birth. Children, including those who were later returned to Ukraine, were forced to stay in Russia for a long time, subjected to anti-Ukrainian and pro-Russian propaganda, and their connection with Ukrainian identity and language was forcibly severed. Thousands of children still remain in this situation. Militarization of children in the occupation zones and in the Russian Federation. Ukrainian children who find themselves under occupation or taken to the regions of the Russian Federation are forced to join militarized children's organizations such as the UNARMIA and the Movement of the Firsts. Children are left with no choice but to engage in war games, learn how to handle weapons, and make drones. A large number of children are covered by militarized forms of education, cadet classes, etc. Mobilization of growing Ukrainian children for the war against their country. Ukrainian children, both remained in the occupied territories and taken to the Russian Federation, are becoming a potential military resource for the Russian army. The imposed Russian citizenship imposes military duty on them. Thus, they risk going to war against their native country, Ukraine. The publication is prepared by Anti-Discrimination Center Memorial Brussels and the Kharkiv Human Rights Protection Group as part of a project funded by the European Union. The illustrations were created by a female artist who experienced the occupation in eastern Ukraine in her youth.